the ball. I must have. My wife was asking me to respond to emails on the subject. Kevin in here producing was asking me to respond to it. Folks on the street walked up to me yesterday and asked me about it. So it must be a huge issue, and I've dropped the ball. French President Jacques Chirac, a couple weeks ago, released sections of a report he'd gotten that Osama bin Laden had died shortly after 9/11 from a disease. And it wasn't kidney failure. It was supposedly, typhus. And remember back in the 2004 election, we weren't the only ones. I mean, it was Walter Cronkite. It was Hillary Clinton. It was all these bigwigs in the Democratic Party going out and saying, listen, we've got intel that, it was a whole bunch of them, that Bush has bin Laden's dead body on ice and is planning to roll him out. That was a quote by Cronkite, that they have him, quote, on ice. Well, who said that first? And I don't want to give up sources. I can't give up sources. And I said on air back in 2002 that it could be disinfo. We wrote articles in 2002 about it. So I put it out there with a large grain of salt. But I have a source inside the White House at the time. They've since left. Hint, hint. That doesn't narrow the field down much. Most people have left. That's all I'm going to say. High level in the White House, and I'm not going to say how the information came to me other than imagine people are at parties. There's a lot of people in the Bush administration live here in Austin. You go to a gala, a function, you're going to see them. I mean, back when Bush was here, the governor, you'd see him all over. And so a lot of his people live here in Austin, live around Austin, or have houses here, summer houses here, winter houses, whatever. I guess they'd be winter houses. It's warm down here. Most of them live in D.C., but then come down here during the winter and during the summer sometimes. But to make a long story short, I was told that bin Laden died of kidney failure shortly after September 11th, and that they have his body literally frozen as an ace in the hole to roll out whenever they need to. And this came from, again, a high-level individual in the Bush administration. And I'm going to just leave it right there. I'm not going to say male or female. Well, then I'm interviewing a CFR member on the show, and he says the same thing before I'd even released this info. He says, yeah, they've got him. He died of kidney failure right after 9/11, and they've got him frozen, and they'll roll him out whenever they want. He's on ice. Well, I go public with the source. I go public with a report from the source. And then 2 years later, 2.5 years later, in late 2004, it's all over CNN, it's all over Fox. I mean, it's seriously being discussed. Well, it's back in the news again that Karl Rove's October surprise is Osama bin Laden's dead body. Frankly, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's accurate, and I don't like to rumor monger here. But Jacques Chirac has come out and said he died. And everyone is asking me, is bin Laden really dead? And there's these discussions. Well, here's an AP article. False rumors mark hunt for bin Laden. He was blown up in the caves of Tora Bora. He was on dialysis and dying of kidney disease. He was in the hands of Pakistani intelligence about to be turned over to the United States. He was blown up in the caves of Tora Bora. He was on dialysis and dying of kidney disease. He was in the hands of Pakistani intelligence and about to be turned over to the United States. Rumors of Osama bin Laden's death or capture go back years, and they have always proved greatly exaggerated. The latest came Saturday when a leaked French intelligence document citing an unusually reliable source said the Saudi Secret Service was convinced the 52-year-old al-Qaeda terror chief had died of typhoid last month in Pakistan. No, tried to die of kidney failure in late 2001, early 2002. Officials from Riyadh to Paris to Washington rushed to insist they had nothing to substantiate the report, but not before news of it reached every corner of the globe and renewed the debate about why the world's largest dragnet has failed to get this man. Okay. You know, they're talking about disinfo on bin Laden. The government claimed they killed al-Zakari over 10 times. They claim they captured him 5 or 6 times. They claim they killed Chemical Ali 3 times. And they're testing this. They're seeing how stupid we are. They're training the media to announce. It was every 2 weeks or so they'd killed him. And then they'd kill him again. And there was never a retraction of the previous kill. And finally, a few months ago, they claimed they killed him for good, and now they've shut up and said he's officially dead. Over and over and over and over. And it came out that Saddam, indeed, if you even believe that's the real Saddam, had been captured by the Kurds 3 weeks before, had been in custody. That has been now admitted, but again, back in the newspaper. And they went and stuck him in that hole after he'd already been in custody and beat up and disheveled to pull him out to show the Marines capturing him. And on the tape is the general walking around on CNN. They even slipped out going, "Men, now here's the official story. Do you hear me? This is all you say. We found him in that hole. Where did we find him? In the hole. That's right. We found him right there just a few hours ago. Right, sir." It's just like Payne Stewart. It's just like, Pat Tillman, the NFL football player. It's the same story over and over and over and over again. Private Lynch, 2 days passed. They knew that they were in a zone controlled by the U.S. They knew the Republican Guard and Iraqis had pulled out. The doctors came to the checkpoint and said, "Hey, we love America." The head doctor of the hospital was trained in the U.S. He says, "We've got your private. Come pick her up. She's right here at the hospital." And they waited 2 days, got Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer, on the phone. He scripted to CENTCOM, based in Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, and told them how to run the operation, how to film over SAT TV. He even told the Delta commanders that went in how to rescue, how to make it look, how to kick doors down. And they went and beat up and kicked down doors and scared her half to death, and she climbed under it. And then they told her, "Here's the story. Okay, you fought single-handedly, and the men all fell down and died, and you killed 5 of the Iraqis, and then you fought them with your bayonet crawling." And she said, "Well, none of that's true. I hid in the back of the truck." And forget, you can go pull the articles. It was a Hispanic gentleman that really did most of the fighting. A bunch of the others did cower in fear. It's the new America. And he shot a whole bunch of them and got killed, and then they shot him like 4 or 5 times and came up and bayoneted him, stabbed him, and Lynch was just groveling and begging. And then a bunch of members of her unit that survived started shooting their mouths off, and so, 5 of them in a month were all killed. They'd get pulled over and drowned in a puddle of water. One guy was in, Phoenix, and someone in a black uniform popped up over the fence and double-tapped him to the head. That story was really important to the Pentagon. I mean, they were killing that whole unit. And Lynch got smart and came out and said, before they killed her, it would have been the hero died in a car wreck before, she could blow the whistle. She came out and said, "It's all a fable. It's a hoax. None of it's true. They told me a lie." Well, it's the same thing with all of this. And if you don't know a psyop's being run on you, I got a bridge I'll sell you on the surface of the moon.